All your generation, you're scared of saying the wrong thing. When did offending someone become the preeminent cardinal sin?
Maybe it's around the same time your generation started making sweeping generalizations about ours.
Whatever shame you have around self-expression, it is bullshit.
Bullshit.
You tend to choose people because they worship you, not because of any actual merit on their part.
Maggie is brilliant.
Is she? Does she just think you're brilliant? Hank's continued obsession.
We're friends. Always will be.
Here we go. Talk to Maggie today.
No, she wasn't in class. No call, no show.
I need to speak with you, okay? Hank walked me home. He asked for a nightcap, which, it's fine. Hank, everybody loves Hank.
What are you saying happened?
He crossed the line.
But what actually happened?
Hello, and welcome back to Mix's award season video series, Film Sound Edition. I'm Tom Kenny, co-editor of Mix, and we're here today with the team of After the Hunt. Director Luca Guadagnino, Amazon MGM Film. And we're together with the sound team that has worked with the director Luca before. Many of you have multiple films with him, which breeds a certain familiarity because this director likes dialogue. It's intense dialogue. It can feel very emotional with the spoken word. Yves-Marie Omnes, we're going to start with you, the production track. I mean, it was a brilliant track. You hear every word. These are some complicated scenes in different environments, many group scenes, many one-on-one scenes. You hear every word. Can you talk to me, Yves, a bit about being on the set?
First of all, it's not my first movie with Luca. I know him pretty well now. It's my fifth movie with him, and he trusts me, and it's a real collaboration with him. So it's make the things more easy because I can do my job without to be worried about things. He know if I take a decision, I will try to do the best things. So it's make the things less heavy, even for a complex scene like that. The first scene was pretty complex, and we have shot all the scene every time. And because with Luca, we never know the covering before, or sometimes there is no coverage. You should be focused on have everything immediately. And you can't just imagine, okay, I will have this line with the coverage, because sometimes there is no coverage at all. So it was a difficult scene, but I remember that we have shot it pretty quickly in 4 or 5 hours. And with a big wide shot at the beginning, and then we have done few coverage, but not so much, if I remember properly.
Is this a combination of radio, boom? Because now the conversation feels rich.
My way to work is using the boom most of the time, and has the most that I can, and giving presence with the radio mic to support a bit the boom, because I really like the presence and the clarity, not the clarity, but the accuracy of the voice. So I searched that a lot with the radio mic to support the boom. That's my way to work when it's possible, when the boom is sometimes the boom is just enough because it's a very good place. And if you have a good boom up, that's enough. But if the shot is a bit wide and you need to support a bit the presence with the radio mic, is what I do. I search with the radio mic the presence.
Can you give a shout out to your boom op? I think he or she did an outstanding job.
My main boom op was the Dominique Hero, who is a very good French boom op. And he's very, very talented. He worked with François Ozon, with many very famous director in France and in Europe in general. And this movie was very particular, but it's the kind of collaboration that we have with Luca. The set is full of mirror. The entrance was just impossible to boom, but Luca knows that the boom is important. So he's very easy to say, yeah, you put the boom and we will just paint the reflection if we have reflection. So obviously we try to don't have reflection, but he will he will push to have a better sound and paint a reflection rather than to don't have any reflection and don't have any boom, or don't have any good boom, obviously. So that's a kind of collaboration that I can have with him, because we have a kind of trust both together. So if I say, look, I think I need to push the boom and we'll have the reflection, he will always say, yeah, yes, do it, because he know that if I ask, it's because we need it. So it's pleasant.
And it sure helps the editing and re-recording side to have
I
this.
hope so, guys.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I'd like to, we'll start off with a quick scene here. The opening of the film. It happened at Yale. And where I feel like a lot of the sound is established right from the beginning. The whole sort of tone of the track. So let's take a look at the opening to After the Hunt.
Have a good day, madam.
Good morning, Professor.
Good morning.
Not wallowing in myopia. Kierkegaard said that.
Yeah, but isn't that, like, implied that it's preferable for one to focus only on themselves?
Busy week, Oma.
I'm aware.
He's at Knox's lecture, sucking up.
See you tonight, Patricia. Foucault paints a picture of public torture performed in order to maintain the social contract of a time in which displays of power. Fabiola. The table looks beautiful. Thank you.
Bring me back to this scene, because we're establishing all the different environments. We're taking him through a montage of a workday, yet we start with this, I want to say, rich but slightly uncomfortable clock.
Yeah.
So talk me through that. How do you establish that tone?
Well, first off, the idea of the clock was Luca's idea, coming through Marco, the film editor, and you have to kind of imagine what that represents in your mind. But that whole sequence is I call it an audio montage of a day in the life of our main character. In that, and thinking that, you could not even watch the picture and just listen to that, and you get an idea of who this person is. And within each shot, there's only one sound playing at one time. So if you get like the first shot, she's in bed, and you come over and 2 pills are put down. The only sound you hear are the pills put down. So it's an attempt to create this sort of a different introduction to our character and their life. She's walking on the street. You don't hear any backgrounds. You don't hear any. All you hear is one student call out her name, the professor's name. So that was an attempt to introduce us in a different sonic way, which is what I love working about Luca, that we can try these things, and he's either asking us to do it, or he's enjoying what we're doing when we're trying completely different ideas.
Yeah, and it's I wouldn't call it a sparse track. I would call it a spare track, though.
Right.
That every single sound matters at this point. So the choices, Davide, and going through and making choices, particularly in some of the more intimate scenes, what drives that? What drives the choices? What do you pick?
Oh, I would say that, especially with dialogue, that where I spend most of my time is definitely, obviously intelligibility and the clarity, especially in this film that is with the dialogue that is a bit more complex, the language that is used, but also there's naturalistic approach that we always try to achieve with Luca. Luca really loves to have this character live in a world, and that's what we're trying to do with the choice of microphones, the choice of the balance between the microphone, and as Yves-Marie was saying, that the boom was pretty good in some of the scene, and we run just the boom when it's possible because it's natural, it works, and it gives back already the movement of the character, but in a natural way without having to create a lot of too much work on top of that in a way that doesn't feel real natural anymore. But also, we have to say that it's basically all the film is shot basically in studio, so we had to work a lot to recreate the ambiances with on the voices and on the background, especially for me on the dialogue and all the loop groups that we use to recreate the ambiances and to balance that, and that to make it live and real in a way, obviously, because it's not just the dialogue, the main dialogue, but it's all the other snippets of dialogue that peek through in a way that it feels natural and intelligible and busy sometimes, or less busy as needed, but never, going over the main dialogue.
We really have. I want to discuss some of those backgrounds. Let's just go right to that because, one of the early scenes is they were in their house and it's a living room discussion and it's back and forth. There's it sounds like a party in the background, certainly. There's stuff in the kitchen. People are moving. The house becomes almost a character in this. We have the sanctuary of her bedroom. We have the busyness of the living room, and then we have a kitchen where activity takes place. Paul, can you talk to me about, and Davide, just help out, what were those environments like, and how do you establish each one?
We spent a lot of time on each room in there and giving them character. The hallway, in fact, took a lot of time. We were placing lots of wood creaks and stuff through the hall. When that repeats right through the movie. The doors when Maggie is going down the corridor right at the start during the party, before she discovers things in the bathroom, she looks in a cupboard and the light comes on, and choosing the right click for the light to come on. And we spent a lot of time on those things to give them a personality, and Luca having his trust in us and working with us before we could present our ideas. He would tell us what he would like. We would present her ideas, and then alongside him in the mix, he would say yes, no, and we would slowly build from there. Everything's in place before we get to the mix. Mm-hmm. But each room had a character for sure. There was a lot of traffic in the kitchen that we can hear. In the montage at the start, we only hear sirens, for example, from outside, and traffic on a pan across the room. Whereas we just have the pill sound on another shot, or the shower coming on, telling the story of the day. Lots of characters like that with the house. But then because so much was shot on set, every environment was rebuilt with sound from outside to go around the dialogue that Yves and Davide had crafted so nicely in there. The stairwells, bringing life to the stairwells, the other families living in the complex there, with the doors opening, closing, there's lifts going, there's rain sometimes, there's not rain sometimes, and all that detail's in there, but hopefully not distracting or taking your attention or even noticing it. It's just bringing a color to the story without stamping or taking you in any direction.
A living room sounds very different than a kitchen, and if you feel that sort of comfort with whatever room you're in. Craig, when you get to mixing, the sort of the background such, you have to establish that location in a way. Is that through exteriors, all through ambience, through a crowd? What are you playing with there?
Well, it's good. Obviously every scene would be a different approach, but going back to what Luca asked us to do originally was to keep it simple. And okay, that sounds easy. It's a dialogue movie, keeping it simple. And then we started digging in and exploring, to establish this room, for example, an office at Yale, you never see outside. You come into this room. You could be anywhere. So what are we going to do to establish this room? Well, there's a window in that room, we imagine, and outside are students walking by. So because we can do it in 3D with sound, often surrounds or whatever, we now can create office at Yale that's being shot on a soundstage somewhere without seeing anything. So every room was about that, deciding what elements we would hear outside that room or within the room. And trying to keep it simple is actually quite difficult because you can't do that. And also on the other fact that when you're keeping things simple, every single sound has to be exactly the right sound. It has to have the right volume, it has to have the right panning, the right EQ, the right reverb on it. There's no cheating, there's no fast cuts of whatever. And as humans, we're very attuned to know if something's right or wrong when it comes to something like that, something that we do every day, lift a cup up or open a door. And if it's not right, we know that.
Everybody, the bottle of pills itself. I mean, you can tell there's only 2 left, when you're here.
Yeah.
You're hearing it shake. Even forgive me, I know they're all sets. Were you able to add anything from production? I mean, do you bring some tracks that help in post? There were some locations. Is that part of your gig?
The few shot that we have we have one shot in location outside was along the Thames with a plane each 30 seconds. Davide, I think it was a nightmare for Davide, but I mean,
yes.
Yeah, I remember when we have done the scouting, not the scouting, but the tech Ricky, the first AD coming to me to say, but we have so much plane. I said, yes, I know. But why we have choose this location? Because it's almost impossible to shoot a dialogue scene here. And so he talked to Luca, and Luca said, hey, he is the best sound mixer ever. So it was my problem at this moment. Not anymore a location problem, but finally, I was not able to do anything, but Davide saved the scene. I think it was a bit crazy to clean, but with the two,
it was crazy.
Now it was crazy.
It was crazy, but I'm happy that we managed to make it work without all ADR, because obviously no ADR allowed. Or
it was an intense scene, and I guess it was good to keep the performance that they had on set. And the rest of the location was only interior, classroom, and things like that. So we've not so much things to record. I mean, it was pretty poor for me to record something else than the voice, to be honest.
Well, it's interesting to me because I like the wharf scenes too. Her apartment at the wharf is almost like a sanctuary, and yet, if I'm not mistaken, it seems to have the most exterior noise and everything, the most going on outside of the room.
Yeah.
Paul, do you want to talk about that? Tell me about the wharf.
There's lots of industry we're hearing there.
Yeah.
Got lots of factory noise coming from across the way, and it's sort of downtown. There's stuff from the car park. There's always people in the car park hanging around. Mm-hmm. So we're hearing a lot of that from that location, as opposed to her apartment, where it's up high and a complex in the nicer part of town, so to speak. So we're getting lots of sort of rhythmic factory and industry sounds coming through in that location for sure.
All right, let's check out another scene, because Craig, you recommended this one, and it's one of my favorites when watching the movie. Seemingly a simple conversation in the kitchen between our 2 central characters. The husband's moving in and out, loud music's coming in. Sometimes it's operatic, sometimes it's heavy metal. You never know. Who wants to start with that scene? Well, let's take a look at it first for our audience.
So you think I ruined his life?
I didn't say that.
Am I not owed this? I mean, this happened to me, and I'm not even allowed to speak about it?
You can do whatever you like, Maggie.
Just not with your support.
I support whatever you choose, but I think what you want is restorative justice, and what you are getting is vengeance. And I would be doing a disservice to you to let you believe otherwise.
Walk me through this. It seems it's just two people. It's complex. That's a complex scene.
Yeah, it's a complex scene, and it was really fun to work on in lots of different ways, but particularly the husband going in and out of the kitchen. Well, there's a serious conversation going on, but it almost becomes a comedic scene in some way in how he's doing it, and he's smiling and he seems like he's very nice, but the way he hits the door and the sound of the door tells you something else is going on. And his footsteps, it was, and that's a good example of how Foley can really affect a scene or affect a character or what they're feeling. There's a few other examples in the film, but that was a really good one to show us what was going on. And to do that too, I took the music tracks and I took the effects tracks of the door, all put everything together before we got to the mix so that I could time everything and make sure that everything was kind of working with that door close, even though it was a swinging door. It was kind of tough because sometimes when the door closes and then it's open again, the sound is going to be a little different as it's moving around. And but it's a fun scene but again, you're trying to focus on the conversation as well.
Yeah.
Right. And so again, the idea of keeping things simple, that's not really a simple dialogue scene when you have this loud music playing in another room and somebody stomping around and putting their dishes down and
purposely being noticed. He wants to be noticed.
Exactly. And you want that to come across and help, amplify what's going on.
Yeah. Well, there's
on set was really difficult because there was no question to ask the actor to be quiet with the door, and the door was noisy on set, and we record dialogue in the same time. And obviously, to acting properly, you need to push violently the door. And each time I was like praying that not on the world. And sure, some take was so bad because it was very noisy, but I guess Davide saved that again. Like every time, he is my lifesaver. It was a bit complex. Yeah.
Well, he announces, "I'm here," every time he walks in, and he wants them to know. But there's a rhythm to that. Davide, putting a scene like that together, putting a scene like that together, are you thinking rhythm as well as the music in there?
Yeah, for me, it's more about obviously I'm working on dialogue on my side. It's more on making sure that there's everything is very clear, understandable, and we respect the other elements. So we don't have anything on the dialogue track that is not needed, and everything is as clear as possible, so that everything is moving around, especially the music is really as room to breathe and to work under the dialogue as we were saying, because again, it's basically as a dialogue scene, it's very important the dialogue that is going on, and definitely there's poses that we have to respect, and what we actually did in those poses is trying to enhance the little breath or little reaction that they all do with the little moment of the poses. That it's something that is very interesting in this scene between the dialogue between our main characters. So we try to enhance the little non-verbal sound that they do and make, because they're really in that sense they're rhythmical and that work with the rhythm of the music and the scene.
Paul, anything to add on that scene?
Rhythmically, for the effects, it was leaning into Foley. It was the rhythm of the footsteps leading to the door. We can feel them before the door bursts open, and then they're bigger in the room. They walk around the room. Then the plate goes down, or the cutlery goes down. That was the rhythm more for the effects side, not working on the music myself. So that was the rhythm side for the effects there. We definitely lent into Foley, because outside of that, in that space, we're not hearing anything else from outside. It's just a room tone the music, dialogue, and Foley is taking.
Who was the Foley artist? I mean, it's great Foley, very distinct, very, very places you in the environment as well. Who did you work with?
Craig, you know the guys' names. I don't know the guys' names. They're the Canadian team, aren't they?
Yeah, from Footsteps in Ontario. They did a great job. That's a good point, because there's so much Foley that's really important in this film, and not so much just important. It's important that everything was played evenly, and we weren't trying to tilt the viewer's opinion of what was going on in a scene, so that, by not playing certain sounds or playing certain things louder most times, we wanted it to be as realistic as possible, so that it was almost like a neutral background of sounds, of Foley sounds, whatever was going on. That was kind of important. And there was also a lot of room for sound because of what Davide and Yves have done with the track. There was space in the track. I really enjoy scenes that have just room, because it's a lot of times you feel like everything's squished together, and you got a lot of talking, you got a lot of music, and you don't have space to feel what's going on in the film. And that's what I love about these kind of movies, is they give you a little bit of room to go, well, what's actually going on here?
Leave it up. Leave it up to the viewer. I mean, a lot of this movie takes place, it's interior in Alma's mind. I mean, she's a lot of silent, and you're playing with simple sounds to sort of reflect what she's going through. Paul, into the sound design, when we get to the music, this is Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross, an award-winning team. We get solo trumpet, we get solo piano, we carry that sort of spare notion that even blends into the sound design. There's times I don't know is that an instrument? I mean, I'm puzzled. I mean, do you want to talk about that blend of the effects track with the music? The music's brilliant.
Well, the music it wasn't overwhelming at all. It did have, like you say, it was very precise. So there weren't moments very often where they were fighting, like quite often it can do in a film, that we find we're desperately trying to make the sound design work alongside music, or making a choice of whether we're going to lead with music or sound design. Whereas they managed to sort of cohabit quite well, I think, naturally in this film, because we were going more for that natural feel with the sound. There wasn't really any kind of crazy sound effects going on at all. All of that was being carried mainly by the music. When there was weird sounds, most of the effect side was naturalistic.
But Paul, also the other thing, which is also great with working with Luca, is that we have all that music early on.
Yeah,
we have it in some form in the cut. We don't work with temp music, so as we are building these worlds, we know exactly where the music's going to be, what it's going to sound like, and if the music's not ready for a certain sequence, there's no music in there. It's just there's something on the screen that says there's going to be a music cue here at some point. So that really, really helps us to build everything around what's there, because that's what's going to be in the mix.
And silence, let's face it, this is at points, this is a very tense movie. For a movie that takes place on a college campus about certain things. I mean, it's intense. And those choices throughout, Lucas seems comfortable with silence. Would that be accurate? That silence can build tension. It's sort of the end of that trumpet note or something leaves you a little unsettled,
Yeah. Well, Davide can talk about that. Having worked with Luca for so many films,
definitely. I mean, it's not only when we're not really just following the dialogue or whatever the action that the movie or the character are doing on screen, but it's also the moment that lingers on after a line, after a shot, and that is something that is really into Luca's vision of a film. I would say that there's this space that is needed sometimes, and that sometimes we lean on in Call Me by Your Name. There's a lot of that. I would say there's a lot of this shot when you see something and you say, what is that? There's music and you don't realize, I don't know, there's a shot of a villa, and you say, and you watching that, listen to the music or listen to an ambience or remember something, and it's part of of the pace of the movie, I would say, and it's needed, especially in a movie that is as with, I mean, these multiple layers. Also, Luca usually, as his narrative is multi-layered, there's a lot of things going on that are not really, there's a main thread, but there's other things going on, and I think that is this silence is not afraid to use it. I would say, and it's part of this room to breathe that is needed.
Character is what I think they call her. Like the Ice Queen, basically. At a certain point, her character is closed up.
And he's he's an Italian filmmaker, with a little bit more of that aesthetic, which from North America is a little bit different. You're not quite sure how to process those things when you hear or see them. How he puts the scene together, which I find really great to work on and refreshing to watch.
Yeah. On Call Me by Your Name, Davide, I don't know if you remember, but during one scene, a big window making noise with the wind. And it was during a scene. And me, I was a bit like, that's weird. And Luca was like a mad, no, it's fantastic. It's fantastic. Yeah. So I have to record 10 minutes of this window making noise.
Yeah.
And he used it like a character of the house.
Yeah. It became a character in the house. Actually, there's a long scene that there's this window noise that is coming. We don't know what it is, and then we discover it's there, and it's the. I mean, it's this memory of the summer. I mean, the summer that the wind in the summer.
It was perfect. It was perfect. He was
absolutely
right. It happened by accident, but he was able to catch it and to use it.
You can take it from production, or you can spend afternoon in post. Yeah,
well, I don't know. I recognize if it was in post, it was perfectly well done because it was very, very like the white track that I record. But I don't know.
A very distinct sound that brings forth an emotion. I mean, he's very good at that. Picking one sound to bring forth emotion or terror. All right. I'd like to ask, we have to wrap up now, but I do like to ask, especially if you've worked with a filmmaker before, you learn something every time. You walk away with something every time. Yves, let's start with you. What do you walk away with from this film, even though you've done 7 more with him?
Well, on this movie, I learned something a bit crazy because it was a noisy set. For some technical reason, the set was pretty noisy, a background noise. That was a bit frustrating because it was a voice movie, and I was a bit disappointed to have this bad background. And then I learned a lot about new tools to clean the background, to improve the voice, and Davide is very good for that with Isotope. But there is really new tools now that like Ush or this kind of AI tools. So it was a big discovery for me to practice that, because I don't do it for the post, of course, but for my own experience, every night I put my son in the Pro Tools and I try things to understand, okay, what they will do it.
What can be done.
I was just thinking that if I can do it, probably a dialogue editor will do something better than that. So it's give me a feeling that, okay, it's not unpleasant to record because of the noise, but they will be able to use it. So it was the first time that I experienced that every day, because this particular situation on set to shoot.
Davide, what do you come away from this film with?
I think that one of the things is I've been working a lot with Luca, so I know what to expect. And the good thing is always finding something new from him, because every film that I do with him, there's a new challenge. And as Craig said, the fact that he wanted to go for a simple direction and leaning onto this thing and realizing or rediscovering, obviously, that simple is not really simple. It's really complex in the end. It's a lesson. I mean, and definitely with all this dialogue, it was a bit of a challenge to make it work. But it's more not on the technical side, but it's more of the remember that simple things are always the most difficult to
simple. Paul, simple can be hard, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, the similar experience for me. I think the thing I guess one of the things I learned was getting sound effects are often up front center and being big and bold, whereas this I had to rein it down and keep it low key while still making it interesting and having rhythm or detail or whatever it is we were doing for a particular scene without being, I don't know, the hero guy of the sound effects, and I guess that was what I took from this was that understanding of if it's not noticed, you've done a great job, which isn't generally the case on the effects side.
Unless it's a door. Yeah, then you have to notice it.
Unless it's a door.
Craig, you bring this all together then. You're making simplicity seem simple when it can be complex. So bringing all these simple elements together, tell us what you learned.
Well, yeah, that was what I was going to say too. Is the simple part of it takes a lot of work. We spend the same amount of time preparing this film and working on this film as we would do for any big action movie.
Yeah.
Right. And also coming to the mix stage with everything. Luca has heard everything by this point because we send a track into the Avid. So the simple part kind of, we're all aiming for that. I mean, we know it's a lot of work, but when we get there, we don't really know what it means until we start playing everything, actually. You don't really know what that track is going to be. And you start playing reel 1 and you do some things and you get to reel 2. It's like, once you get into, reel 3, it's like, oh, that's what simple is. That's what it means. You have to discover it. And then you go back and you got to get back on track with what you've done.
Did you find yourself pulling back a bit? I mean, did you find yourself taking away sounds? Or?
No, it was the opposite. It was to make things sound like they're not presented. And right. So the dialogue scene in that first scene in the party scene or in a bar, wherever it was, at first you go, oh, simple. I just play the dialogue up and everything else kind of underneath. So you kind of hear it. It's like, no. You have to feel like you are there at that scene. So that's what I mean. Discovering the simple part of it. Okay. That's what it means. We want to be totally immersed in what's going on. So it really, wasn't simple. We did a couple of things differently in this film when we started out because of what Lucas said, to keep it simple. For example, we normally in an interior scene, we will have sounds playing from the surrounds in that room, and we might have reverbs in there. We decided that early on, you know what? Let's make it simple. Let's keep everything more up front when we're inside, so that what happened was when we went outside and we had surround, you really noticed that change. So there was a few things we learned about that on the way. It's like, oh, okay, that's kind of interesting. Sometimes when you have all these tools and you put all these sounds in, you forget that you don't have to use them all. You can just, collapse down and then use them when you need them. So
in the film really demanded that. I mean, it becomes very, very intimate at certain points. Those are intimate conversations at certain points that have big meaning with few words. And you bring them in there. Thank you, gentlemen, and good luck. It's an outstanding track. And for all the people who think you have to have a big effects track to have a solid track, this is a perfect example of everything being precise, I believe, and it's very well done. Good luck to you in award season.
Thank you.
And thank you for joining us here, Craig.
Thank you.
Paul, Davide, and Eve.
Bye.
And stick around. There's more to come.